Hello and welcome. I've been testing this Raspbian X that PyLab has created, which has box 86, and it can run the Linux version of Linux 86 version of Steam to some extent. But what I have been playing around with is the Windows 98 virtual machine running with Qemu. And one of the things that I had trouble with was that if you run this machine, you have to press Ctrl-Alt-2 to open a console prompt for Windows 9 for the Qemu, where you can mount CD images, ISO files, and that's pretty annoying, I think. So I've made a script, a bash script for it, that will help mount images. As we can see here, I have a USB drive, and it has an ISO folder with a lot of ISO images. And I have made a script here. So if you go to Home, go into the virtual machine, this is where it has it installed, and I have made a new script for it called select-h. And in the script I have added some code, and this code checks all the folders, all the subfolders for any files that are called ISO files, and only the files and not the folders, and it'll make a list of all of them and output this list to a dialog here. And then here it converts this output, because it only outputs a number, which number on the list is the file you chose, and it'll create a full link file name with the full path, and then it will go to the virtual machine folder and launch the virtual machine. One thing that really annoyed me for a long while was that sometimes it failed to find this PA audio dev driver, and it's a pass-through driver, which makes it the most efficient and gives the most stable sound. And this part here, the server equals run user 1000 pulse native, it makes this problem stop, because it then launches it. Oh, and another thing is up here we say file equals, so the output from this dialog comes into the variable file, and here we just take file again and outputs and changes it, because first it was just a number. And then in the launch line here with all the parameters, I have at the end added a CD-ROM parameter that says file, and with these around it, it means that the file will also be able to support paths with spaces in the path, which is also quite useful. But this also makes this into a bash script, whereas the original script, this is the original script, and it's an sh script instead, so it runs a bit differently than this one. And the menu I've made is a console menu, so that's why the launcher needs to be a bit different as well. The original launcher here, it says sh, and it just runs the file directly, because it knows how to run sh scripts. And some comments, and here the icon has changed. So what I have changed here is that I have set it to run in terminal, and I have set it to run sudo bash. I'm not sure if it always needs sudo, but But sometimes when it needs to see all these files, it might need sudo as well. And then it runs this sh script that runs as a bash script, and it runs it in the terminal. And another important thing is every time you edit the sh file, you'll need to go in here and says allow this file to run as a program. And it shows the command here as well. And another thing to show is that yeah, it shows the ISO. I also set no reboot on it because there seems to sometime Windows 98 crashes, and if you set this no reboot, it won't. It will just shut the virtual machine down instead of rebooting. And I also explained some of it here. So yes, let's try to see how it works. I run it here, and it opens this file selector, and we can take Qemu, for example. And Control Alt F will make it full screen. It takes a bit to boot. And the launch sound of Windows does usually lag a bit, and I think that's mainly because it's just busy loading Windows, so that's a bit takes a bit more resources than the games do. And I've installed Tool Commander on it to help manage files a bit. And I have installed a few different games that runs pretty well. Command & Conquer seemed to have some problems. But then there's Dune 2000 which runs pretty well. Oh wait, I also changed the colors. Would be best if I changed them back. It was for another game. I changed the colors down to 256 colors. But it runs higher colors pretty fine. So first I'll show Diablo. And you can run Diablo on Linux using something that converts it to Linux. And but I find it pretty nice that you can run it on its original operating system. And it seems easier to me since I'm not as used to Linux. So yes. So that's very playable. But there are two options for changing CDs, because I can now leave Windows, leave the virtual machine by shutting it down, or I can use the Ctrl-Alt-2 to change the CD. Then it's change dash HT1. That's not right. Or is it? I always forget the numbers and such. Yeah, IDE one, that's one. Here. And now the reason I made the file changer is simply because otherwise you have to find the full path and type it in manually, because for some reason, or at least I haven't found a way to copy paste into this prompt. So I need to type the full path here. That would be media, since it's the USB stick. And yeah, the media is actually the folder I have set it to search for ISO files. So if you change that part in the script, it doesn't show it. That was the wrong script. There you go. So the part it has here with media, this is where this is the root folder it will start, and everything inside of this folder. So if you have more than one external disk, it will also search those disks, and if they're very big, it might actually take a while to launch this, because it'll search every folder for ISO files to list. But I guess my USB stick is pretty fast or something, or maybe it's because there's not that many files, but it runs pretty well. Seems to launch almost immediately. Yeah, so it's media and pi. And if you see here, if I go back here, you can see media, pi, ISO games. And when it doesn't complain about anything, it's because the command worked. If I did like this, it will say, cannot open this file. So now you can see it has changed the CD, and because we changed the CD while it's active, yeah, that's a bit loud, sorry. Because we changed it while it's active, it can actually launch. Let's lower the volume a bit. So it also runs the CD.
I can't see a thing, Jim. Well, hold on. I swear, it's always some damn thing. Wait, got it. Ah, hell, this thing ain't gonna hold. Shut up.
StarCraft also runs pretty well. But I already made a video showing StarCraft running. So another thing I'll show is that it can also use path names with spaces and so on. And that's pretty annoying to type in, because then you have to manually type all of that. And you need to use some special characters for the spaces, or you need to put in the symbols. So if I now run it again, and it'll give me the menu, and here I have Dr. Brain. So it has a lot of spaces and everything. And now it should be the Dr. Brain CD. But yeah, this is the game that's the reason why I had lowered the amount of colors, because it says requires support for 256 colors, which for some reason that game expected there to never be more than 256 colors. It is probably a programming error, I think, or maybe the game actually does require it to be 256 colors, which is why Windows XP and so on later on have a compatibility setting to set it down to a low amount of colors.
I am Dr. Thaddeus P. Brain the Third. The P stands for puzzles. I am the Puzzle Master. All is ready for the master experiment. What's your name?
Dr. Brain has transferred too much of his intellect to Rathbone. We'll have to reverse engineer every brain puzzle Dr. Brain has ever solved, and reconstruct Dr. Brain's brain section by recreating solutions to each brain puzzle he has ever worked on. When all the puzzles are solved, we'll pour his intellect back into the brain drain and pressure force the intelligence back into his own head. We should begin the reconstruction immediately.
I've always liked these Dr. Brain games. There's 4 of them, and the games after that weren't as good. They were mainly made for children. They are a bit for children here as well, but there are puzzles that are way harder than what children would probably be able to.
Now entering train of thought.
All aboard! On top of the morning to you. We'll be needing the green ball now. We'll be needing the blue ball now. We'll be needing the red ball now.
And there's
External forces and increasing speed have challenged you to use your brain in increasingly effective ways. This section is now 5% complete.
Sure. If you come back now, I'll give you that 4-leaf clover. Oh, Jimmy, where you been?
Create a stable system by
All aboard!
Goodbye.
Bye-bye!
Yeah, so I think this is working pretty well. I'm hoping others will like this and find some uses for it. I tried the Red Alert 2 on this, and that didn't seem to work so well. But otherwise, it's pretty good. So games after 98 or something won't run very well on this. But that is quite a few Windows games, I think. And And since it can run on a Raspberry Pi 4, that really helps with how many games you can run. Well, there's even more things in Raspbian X and the other OS desktops that Pi Labs has made. They work really a lot like Windows, and even made one for macOS as well, where it has all the things that you have on the macOS. Even made the notification bar, and works for setting up Wi-Fi. And you can also adjust the frequency for the CPU. So it can be set to performance. Oh, sorry. And when performance is enabled, it'll have a 2 GHz frequency by default, and otherwise it's only on demand, it'll go up to 2 GHz. So usually I think on demand would be enough. I can overclock this a bit more, and that might make these games run a bit better, so there's a bit less lag, but I think there'll always be a bit of stuttering in the sound and such, like we heard. So yeah, I'll link this special script in the description, and you have to make this one yourself. But what I did was, when you start this distro from, I'll link his download page as well. But when you start this, there's no icons on the desktop. So what I did was type Windows 98, and it shows this, and then you can just click Add to Desktop. And right now it can't because it's already there. But that will create this link on the desktop, and to make this new file, I'll click it, click Copy, click Paste, and you have a second file. And I'll just delete it since I already have the second file. And then the trick was to click Properties, and oh yeah, it wasn't Properties, but first you need to set this so that it'll run as a program. Oh wait, that's not actually the first thing. So first edit the launcher, because then you can point at the correct script, and then you need it'll show only this part, except there's not the select CD, and you can actually click here and select the script file if you have copied it. So let's go back to here, and then it's home, Pi VM, and select the script if you have put it here, but that's where the other script is, so it seems like a good place to put it. And now it'll show the full script, but that's not enough for the command because it'll need to have bash in front. And now I'll try without the sudo in front. So we'll save this, and let's just, to be sure, check the permissions. And now, because we changed it, it won't allow to run as a program. The same thing, if you changed anything in the sh file, it'll also remove this run as a command. And also it's still marked as running terminal, so that's good. And then I can run it. Let's mark it as, again, I guess as changed something. Then you get the menu, and in fact if we click cancel, it'll jump back out again, because maybe you didn't want to use a CD anyway. Yep, so that's it. I hope you liked it. Have a nice day.